TomoNews presents ATM hacking.
Spray gel could cover ATM thieves with evidence for 5 years. This is what crooks could look like next time they try and decide to swipe money from ATMs in England. The Co-op, a British supermarket, has outfitted ATMs in 2,500 stores with a traceable spray gel to deter would-be criminals. When someone tries to break into an ATM, their clothes and face are sprayed with the gel. Each sprayer has its own forensic identifier, and only a speck of this is needed from the suspect to match it to the ATM. The gel is visible under an ultraviolet black light. Developer company Smart Water say the gel can be traced up to 5 years after being sprayed. The technology reportedly reduced ATM theft by up to 90% in test areas in 2016. How to spot an ATM skimmer. ATM skimming is a common form of fraud that involves a compromised ATM that allows criminals to access bank accounts. According to an April 2016 study, such incidents in the U.S. increased more than 5-fold from 2014 to 2015. ATM skimming usually employs 2 separate components. First, a fake card reader is fitted onto the ATM's card slot. It scans and stores the information on the card's magnetic strip as it slides through. Then, a pinhole camera hidden on or near the ATM records the PIN entered on the keypad. Alternatively, a fake keypad is placed on top of the real one to record the digits entered. To avoid becoming victim to skimming fraud, one must check for any objects mounted on the ATM or near it. Comparing the ATM being used to another nearby can help spot suspicious differences. Examine any mounted parts by pulling them to see whether they are securely attached. Feel the keypad for its sensitivity and check whether it was placed on top of a real one. The research also reports that 60% of incidents took place at non-bank ATMs. You might want to avoid using ATMs in malls, for instance, and stick with those located outside or inside your bank. Man trapped in ATM gets withdrawn by cops. A Texas contractor found himself held captive by a cash machine and had to go old school to get out. The worker was changing the locks for the ATM vestibule when he was locked in because he left his swipe card in the truck. Poor fella also left his phone, so he couldn't call for help. But the ATM was working just fine, and what he did have was a pen and paper. He resorted to slipping notes through the receipt slot, begging people to please help. I'm stuck in here and I don't have my phone. Please call my boss. Unfortunately for him, everyone who got the note thought it was a bizarre joke, and the poor man was stuck for 2 hours until someone took it seriously enough to call the cops. Even the cops didn't think it was for real, even after they heard a little voice coming from the machine. Still, they eventually came to the man's rescue, kicking down the door to finally get him out. Now there's a man who's never been so happy to get away from a cash machine. Crazy!
Robbers stole over 200,000 ringgit from a Malaysian department store on December 15th by breaking into an ATM machine. Malaysian police say they think at least one man was hiding in the bedding and home decor section of a mall before an ATM robbery on Sunday and let accomplices in through the shutter doors at around 2:30 a.m. The men then used an oxyacetylene torch to cut into an ATM machine inside the mall. Police say the robbers made off with 270,920 ringgit. As there were no guards at night, the crime wasn't discovered until 5 hours later when a security guard opened the store. Officials say 2 security guards responsible for loading cash into the ATM machine on Saturday have been detained to assist in investigations. How hackers jack ATMs remotely. Japanese cybersecurity firm Trend Micro has published a white paper detailing how hackers can remotely control ATMs. First, cybercriminals target banking staff with phishing emails. If a worker accesses the email, this allows the hacker to steal their identity. The hacker then uses these stolen digital credentials to enter the banking network where they begin to comb it for data on their target. This is known as lateral movement. The hack is commonly seen in places where banks' main networks and ATM networks are not separated. Once said data is acquired, the hacker gains access to ATMs. They then order machines to dispense so-called jackpot amounts of cash to standby mules waiting to collect. Hackers using this technique have kept away from ATMs in the US and Canada, but Trend Micro expects the threat to become stronger in the future.
UK thieves tunnel into Tesco, steal cash from ATM. A gang in the United Kingdom spent months digging a tunnel that connected to a mini supermarket and have gotten away with tens of thousands of pounds after stealing an ATM. Authorities said the theft took place at a Tesco Express petrol station in Salford, an industrial city near Manchester, on March 14th. Staffers opening the shop were stunned to find a hole in the ground connected to a tunnel. The 50-foot-long tunnel was a complex structure with its roof supported by the building's foundations. It is believed the gang had spent months plotting the crime and digging the tunnel using pickaxes and shovels. The debris was disposed of in a nearby canal. Authorities urged witnesses who had seen suspicious people, quote, possibly covered in soil, to come forward and provide information.
Florida man goes rocky on ATM for giving him too much cash. A Florida man has been charged with criminal mischief after he reportedly assaulted an ATM machine. Michael Joseph Oleksic happened to be visiting the Wells Fargo and Cocoa when he got into a tussle with the ATM machine on November 29th. According to the police, surveillance footage shows Oleksic having a disagreement with the touchscreen that got physical. Real physical. At one point, Oleksic introduced his fists of fury to the machine, which ended up costing at least $5,000 in damages. Oleksic called the bank a short time after the throwdown and told them the ATM had dispensed too much money. He said he was in a hurry for work and didn't know what to do. Wells Fargo returned the favor by having Oleksic arrested and charged. Secret Service warns banks about ATM jackpotting exploit. The U.S. Secret Service this week issued an alert warning banks about an ATM hacking attack known as jackpotting. Online security blogger and journalist Brian Krebs, citing a Secret Service alert to banks, reports that thieves use an endoscope attached to a phone to begin the exploit. They use this to find an internal part of the ATM that'll connect with your laptop. After that, the cash machine appears as out of service and will be in control of the thieves. They can order the ATM to dispense currency to a collector or a money mule at a rate of 40 bills per 23 seconds. The Secret Service alert warns the exploit targets ATMs inside pharmacies and big box retailers, as well as drive-through ATMs.
A global cybercrime ring stole $45 million from thousands of ATMs in 2 precise operations involving people in 27 countries. In the first operation, an unnamed Indian credit card processing company handling Visa and MasterCard prepaid debit cards was infiltrated by hackers. Armed with the details of MasterCard debit cards issued by the Bank of Muscat in Oman and the United Arab Emirates RAK Bank, the hackers increased the available balance and withdrawal limits of the cards. Using only 5 different account numbers, the hackers distributed the information to people in 20 countries, who proceeded to encode the information on magnetic stripe cards. Caching crews then made some 4,500 withdrawals around the world, netting $5 million. Computer experts monitored the financial transactions of the street crews to ensure they weren't shortchanged on their cut. U.S. federal prosecutors charged 8 men with money laundering and conspiracy to commit access device fraud.